You know what the four things are that an education can give you? Well, they're 3 P's and an F. The 4 great objects of life and education can be listed as poise, power, peace, and freedom. Let me tell you the 10 marks of an educated person, and this doesn't necessarily mean a college degree. You can check them off as I run down the list and see how you qualify. Number 1, an open mind. This is the ability to toss even your most cherished beliefs into the trash can if you find they're not true. Number 2, the educated person will listen to all the information someone else can give him on a subject and then draw his own conclusions. Number 3, the educated person never laughs at new ideas. He never says that something is impossible, ridiculous, or that it cannot be done. Number 4, the educated person cross-examines his daydreams. A lot of people have become great by realizing that some daydreams can become practical realities. 5, the educated person discovers his strongest point and then makes the most of it. Nothing succeeds like success, but mainly because a person has found his strong point and has learned how to play it. 6, learn the value of good habits and how to form them. 7, know when not to think, when to call in the expert to do your thinking for you. Dr. William Mayo once said, "It is not surgery that kills people, it's delayed surgery." Number 8, you can't sell the educated person magic. It's amazing and pitiable the great number of people who believe in luck, charms, special days, signs, Black Fridays, and other superstitions still around from the Dark Ages. The educated person throws superstition right out the window. Number 9, the educated person lives a forward-looking, outward-looking life. Psychology divides the world into 2 classes, introverts and extroverts. The inward-looking introvert loses health, efficiency, happiness, and so on, while the outward-looking person builds, constructs, organizes, achieves, and harnesses the energies of the world. Now, most of us are a combination of both introvert and extrovert, but it's important that we turn ourselves and our minds outward, not inward. Number 10, the educated person cultivates a love for the beautiful. Beauty can be a fine book, good music, nature, a painting, any one of a million things. The educated person sees beauty in just about everything. So those are the 10 marks of an educated person. Now, how did you do? The next time little Clyde or Hermione asks you why school is necessary, tell them about the 3 P's and the F that only an education can give you: poise, power, peace, and freedom. 4 things that every human being wants, but only those who have taken the time to obtain an education can have. And if you're already out of school and feel you kind of skidded by, an hour a day can give you the education you seek, just 1 hour a day, for the rest of your life. In getting a really good education, here's a terrific book to start on: The Outline of History by H.G. Wells, The History of the World, as exciting as a novel, all in 1 volume. Thank you. One of the most famous names in the world belongs to a woman. The name is Elsa Maxwell. Every real person who's ever known her likes her. Her life story reads like the wildest fiction, and in May of 1960, an article appeared in This Week magazine written by Elsa Maxwell titled, "How to Live a Long and Merry Life." In this article, she told of 4 rules her father gave her when he lay dying in San Francisco after the great earthquake had practically leveled the city and wiped out what few possessions her family owned. And with Miss Maxwell's permission, I'd like to pass her father's 4 rules along to you. They're worth remembering, these days more than ever. So here are the rules a dying man whispered into the ear of a pudgy, lonely little girl whose face would never be her fortune, but whose generosity, wit, and charm have captivated millions. Here are the rules. Number 1, never be afraid of they. Being afraid of what they think will squelch whatever creative spark God meant you to have. They is only a collection of yous, me's, and she's. The judgment of they is unimportant. What you think is right is the only thing that distinguishes you from any other soul on earth. Number 2, never collect inanimate objects. The more you own, the more you are possessed. Own nothing, but give what can't be bought. Give of yourself. Give fun. Give gaiety. Give health and sympathy, and the world will give you all you need. Number 3, always laugh at yourself first. Laugh at yourself first, and no one else can laugh at you afterwards. And when they do, it doesn't hurt at all. So laugh at yourself, openly. And then he added, and Elsa Maxwell still doesn't know how he knew. He said, "For you're going to be in the public eye as no woman ever was." And his 4th rule for his little girl was, all through life, take the light things seriously and the serious things lightly. Those are the 4 rules that have guided her life. On the day she was being interviewed, she said, "I'm never tired. Every day I do the work of 10 men while having the fun of 10 schoolgirls. Last night," she continued, "I went to a banquet and 2 parties, one of which I hostessed. Today, after a copious 4-hour sleep, I'm writing a chapter in my book, a magazine article, and a newspaper column. I'm giving a luncheon for the patrons of my pet charity, attending an afternoon tea concert by the greatest violinist in the world, and appearing on television." Well, that's a day in the life of Elsa Maxwell when she was 73 years of age. In addition to the 4 rules her father gave her, I think you could add, be in work you like, and work hard and well at it, and spend your free time with people you like. Work hard, play hard, and give all you can. The world will see that you're loved and repaid out of all proportion to that which you give. After reading that interesting article by one of the world's most interesting women, you might think she had read Carlyle, who said, "One life, a little gleam of time between 2 eternities, no second chance for us, forevermore." That's reason enough to live well. Hello, this is Earl Nightingale. Occasionally, a strange sight is seen at sea. The wind, the tide, the surface ice will all be going in one direction, but moving majestically against these forces will be an iceberg. Now, the reason is not hard to find. We see only a small part of the iceberg. Deep down in the water is the base of the iceberg, where it is controlled by more powerful, deeper currents. Strength of character is the powerful current that keeps us going in the right direction. You know, people are like icebergs, big ones and little ones. The little ones, which float on the surface, are subject to any wind or superficial current that happens along. They go first this way and then that, along with all the other things which float on the surface. Their roots don't go deep enough to be gripped by the deep, powerful currents that will give their lives direction and purpose. These people lack a meaningful philosophy of life. I think everyone from time to time should ask himself, where am I going? Am I living in such a way to bring lasting, important benefits to myself and those who depend upon me? Am I honestly proud of the job I'm doing and the manner in which I've been conducting myself? I think more people should realize that each of us needs a settled purpose in life, an aiming point toward which to work. In this way, knowing that by doing our very best every day, we will reach the point on which we have set our compass. In this way, we can sail along on course regardless of the winds which may come up, and we need take no notice of the flurries of unrest, indecision, and short-term expediency we see about us. It's the long-term profit which is the lasting profit, and by going first this way and then that, we will ultimately arrive nowhere. We'll find ourselves eventually right back where we started, while the big icebergs, with their roots in the deep currents, have long since disappeared over the horizon on the way to their goals. As Carlyle put it, a man with a half volition goes backwards and forwards and makes no way on the smoothest road. A man with a whole volition advances on the roughest and will reach his purpose if there be even a little wisdom in it. He also said, the man without a purpose is like a ship without a rudder, a waif, a nothing, a no man. Have a purpose in life, and, having it, throw such strength of mind and muscle into your work as God has given you. You might try to remember the story of the large iceberg which moves along with the deep underwater current, even though the surface waves and ice are moving in the opposite direction. And it's a good story to pass along to the youngsters and to your associates. A good way to start is to try to become as good at what you are now doing as it is possible for you. If you're a housewife, make up your mind to become one of the best. If you have a meal to cook, Try to make it outstanding. No matter what your job happens to be, it will take on dignity and meaning if you do it as well as you possibly can. Any other attitude can only result in our developing a poor opinion of ourselves and in dissatisfaction and frustration. Becoming outstanding at what we do is a purpose worthy of any man or woman and will result in our developing the deep roots we seek. It's something to think about. T.T. Munger wrote one time, "There's no road to success but through a clear, strong purpose. Nothing can take its place. A purpose underlies character, culture, position, attainment of every sort." Thank you. People frequently say of someone, "I don't know where he gets his energy. He's going all the time." Have you ever wondered why some people seem to have more energy than others? Why some people seem to get so much done in so short a time? Well, I think I've got the answer for you. The answer is desire. That's right. The amount of energy you use will always be in proportion to how much you want something. Now, Arnold Bennett put it this way. He wrote, "Perhaps you've been hoping to create energy in yourself. Now, you cannot create energy, either in yourself or elsewhere. Nobody can. You can only set energy free, loosen it, transform it, direct it. An individual is born with a certain amount of energy, no more. And what is more important, you cannot put additional quantities into him. You may sometimes seem to be putting energy into him, but you are not. You are simply setting his original energy free, applying a match to the coal or fanning the fire. Now, some individuals appear to lack energy, when, as a fact, they're full of energy, which is merely dormant, waiting for the match or waiting for direction. The usual idea of the amount of energy possessed by an individual is the intensity of the desire of that individual. It is desire that uses energy. Strong desires generally betoken much energy, and they're definite desires. Without desire, energy is rendered futile. Nobody will consume energy in action unless he desires to perform the action, either for itself or as a means to a desired end. You must not confuse vague, general aspirations with desire. A real desire is definite, concrete. The desire which indicates great energy is always there, worrying. It is an obsession. It is a nuisance. It is a whip or a scorpion. It has no mercy. As Arnold Bennett wrote, your energy can be measured by the degree of your desire for something. Now, a good example of this is when you're looking forward to an evening out. It can be a party, the theater, anything. But if it's something you want very much to do, you'll find, even after a hard day as you dress to go out, you're full of energy. Normally, you'd be ready for a deep chair and the paper or bed. So if you find yourself without energy all the time, or most of the time, particularly as it pertains to your work, it's time to reevaluate what you're working for or toward. The teenager who can barely move through the house without collapsing into a chair, who walks as though he's coated with 2 inches of lead and who shambles off to school in the morning looking for all the world as though he might never make it, is a totally different person on the football field or the basketball court or when it comes to getting dressed for a date. Desire is the answer. Somehow, desire knows how to tap the reservoir of energy that is in each of us and withdraw enough for its satisfaction. The higher the desire, the more energy we will find we have. And if you want to be filled with energy, bubbling over with it, find something to work toward that's bigger than you are, that so fills you with challenge and interest, you're jealous of the sleep that takes you away from it. Goethe wrote, "Energy will do anything that can be done in the world, and no talents, nor circumstances, no opportunities will make a two-legged animal a man without it." I'll bet you could travel all over the country and not find an individual who wouldn't fight to protect his freedom, and that's the way it should be, of course. But every once in a while, it's a good idea to redefine the word freedom and ask ourselves, what does freedom mean to me as an individual? Dr. Mortimer J. Adler, director of the Institute for Philosophical Research, has written a booklet titled The Challenge of the 20th Century. I think it's terrific, and I'd like to share some of his ideas with you. Maybe you'll find them as interesting as I did. Dr. Adler points out that just 100 years ago, leisure and learning were the privilege of the few. For the great mass of men and women, the years of schooling were short and the days of labor long. Those who worked all or most of their lives for a living had little free time to continue with learning after a brief schooling in childhood had prepared them for the time-consuming occupations of their adult life. I believe we should remind ourselves from time to time how really fortunate we are today, because within the memory of some men and women living today, there were times when a man got up while it was still dark, ate a meager breakfast, and trudged off to work. He didn't get home until after dark at night, so tired he could only eat again and drop off to sleep. And then the whole thing started all over again the next morning. This went on 6 days a week, and it frequently started when a boy was in his teens. For this back-breaking, mind-dulling work, he was paid barely enough to keep food on the table, and then only the basic foods. For the women, it was the same. Wood-burning stoves, no electricity, primitive medicine, and even that difficult or impossible to obtain. She bore the children, flirted with deadly infections, and worked herself into an early grave. With the dawn of industrial democracy at the turn of this century, extraordinary changes began to take place which affected the lives of all of us. The increasing productivity of industrial machinery gradually emancipated most men from a lifetime of grinding toil. The years of schooling for children were lengthened. The hours of the working day and the span of the working life were shortened. As more and more men were given the political and economic conditions of freedom, it became possible for more and more human beings to lead the lives of free men. Now, the Declaration of Independence declared all men free and equal by natural right, but it took more than 150 years of political, economic, and social progress to achieve even a working approximation of the ideal the Founding Fathers of the Republic had envisaged as a reality for their posterity, if not for their own generations. But today, men who have all the opportunities of freedom can, nevertheless, live like slaves. For at the beginning of a human life, the fight begins against the most tyrannical of masters. The master's name is ignorance. And to the extent that we permit this despot to exercise control over us, we are slaves. A free life with lots of leisure time on our hands gives us the opportunity to get rid of this master. The things we should most actively seek are knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, for they will endure through a lifetime, and they will give us control over our lives and our environment. Learning should not end when we leave school. It is then that it should really begin. Knowledge, then, is freedom. Learning is wealth to the poor, an honor to the rich, an aid to the young, and a support and comfort to the aged. An hour a day spent in the pursuit of knowledge can open to us great and undreamed of vistas. Have you ever thought much about the fact that the right to fail is as important as the right to succeed? If we didn't have bad weather, we could never really enjoy good weather. A person never really enjoys good health until after an illness. And I've never known a successful man or woman whose success did not hinge on some kind of failure. Now, there's an old saying which goes, "It is impossible to succeed without suffering. If you're successful and have not suffered, someone has suffered for you. And if you're suffering without succeeding, it is so that someone may succeed after you, or that you will succeed later. But there is no success without suffering." Success in the world, any kind of success, is like a universal college degree. It can only be earned by following a certain course of action for a definite period of time. It is impossible for success, real success, to be easy. In this way, nature makes success a kind of natural selection. Only those individuals who are willing to try again after their failures, those who refuse to let defeat keep them down for long, those who seem to have some strange inner knowledge that success can be theirs if they just stay with it long enough, finally win their success diploma in life. Men and women who succeed in life will tell you that many times, just as they felt they were finally reaching the point in life on which they had set their hearts, the rug was pulled out from under them, and they found themselves back at the starting line again. It's like swimming upstream, only to find yourself washed back down again, and not just once or twice, but many times. In this way, only those of great faith are given the rewards of success. Those who do not achieve great success in life are by no means failures. They're successful in their way because they have what they really want. They simply did not want great success enough, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's all a matter of choice. One day a young man came into my office and asked me the secret of success. He told me he wanted very much to make a great success of himself. I told him to decide definitely upon what he considered success to be for him, and then work at it for 12 to 16 hours a day until it had been achieved. And when he wasn't working at it, to think about it. By doing this, he could reach his goal in perhaps 5 years or so. Or he could decide definitely upon what he wanted and work hard at it 8 hours a day and achieve it in 10 to 15 years. But to achieve success, he must force himself back on the track every time he falls down, realizing that failures are as necessary to success as an excavation is to a basement. I never saw that young man again. I've often wondered if he took my advice. It is an unusual person whose desire is larger than the thought of the work involved. Successful people are dreamers who have found a dream too exciting, too important to remain in the realm of fantasy, and who, day by day, hour by hour, toil in the service of their dream until they can touch it with their hands and see it with their eyes. Here's a question for you. How good are you at solving your own problems? If you'll think about it a minute, you'll realize that living well and successfully is really a matter of being able to solve or overcome the problems which are as much a part of living as breathing. But of one thing you can be sure. Few people realize that they have, within themselves, far more problem-solving potential than they ever use. Now, let's say you have a problem. Chances are you have several problems. The first thing to remember is that to solve a problem, it must be defined, and that we should only take one problem at a time. So take your biggest problem and define it. Sit down and on a sheet of paper, write as complete a description of the problem as you can. Just spelling it out has a way of diminishing it. We're most afraid of that which we can't see, and when we see our problem written out, it never looks quite as tough. The next step is to break down the problem into details, and don't confuse facts with opinions. Make sure you know what you're talking about and that the problem is as real as you think it is. Now list possible solutions. No matter how crazy they may appear, write down as many possible solutions as you can think of. Then talk the problem through with someone you respect and admire and whose opinion you value. If this does not result in the solving of the problem, begin collecting data about it, as much as you possibly can. Study everything you can lay your hands on which pertains to this particular problem. And all the time, know that the problem has a solution and that you are perfectly capable of finding it. Then, just before you go to sleep at night, read over all the material you've written out about the problem and go over in your mind the list you've made of the possible solutions. Then relax and let your mind go to work on it. Not your conscious mind, but your subconscious or unconscious mind. Set your alarm clock to wake you up an hour earlier than you usually get up. And get up, get yourself a cup of coffee if you want it, and sit down to a sheet of paper and try to come up with 20 ideas which might solve your problem. By doing this and turning the problem over and over again in your mind, and by letting it incubate while you're asleep and while you're going about your daily work, one fine day when you least expect it, while you're taking a shower or on the way to work or just sitting around the house, the solution will burst into your mind, or rather it will slip in, quietly and without fanfare, and you'll sit up startled that the problem is solved. You'll usually find that the solution is so common sense, so plain, so simple and perfect, you'll wonder why you didn't think of it before. But there is one secret to success in this sort of thing that is vitally important. Whenever you think of your problem, think of it as only waiting to be solved, and know that you will get the solution. Don't worry about the problem or be afraid of it. This will only keep you awake, hurt your digestion, and in general, run you down. Face your problem with faith and bend every effort to solve it. And solve it, you will. Then go on to the next one. And each time you solve a new problem, the solution to the next one will be just that much easier. Try this, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at the results. Each of us has a tendency to underestimate our own abilities. We should realize that we have, deep within ourselves, a reservoir of genius that can be tapped if we'll just dig deep enough. To my way of thinking, and I'm sure to yours too, children give the world its perennial hope, a big share of its laughter, and a great deal of its love. Children are the world's most beautiful flower garden, and every once in a while a youngster will indicate in his or her conversation that he or she wants to be great someday. Most kids at one time or another want to be great at something, but they seem stumped as a rule as to what it is. The next time you're talking with your youngsters, you might tell them of this definition of greatness. It appeared in the Indiana Freemason and was written by J. Carl Humphrey. It goes, "The potential for greatness lies within each of us. It is simply our best. A person who can peacefully lay his head upon his pillow of rest each night, thankful to God for the blessings of the day, secure in the knowledge that he has given his best to all he has done, is great." Now, to me, this is the best definition of greatness. It has nothing at all to do with a person's position or the amount of money he pays in taxes or the size of his house. Any man or woman is great who can end each day secure in the knowledge that he has given his best to all he has done. The child who does his best in school is just as great in his sphere as the statesman who successfully concludes a meeting of world leaders is in his. This reminds me of something I read a long time ago, written by William James of Harvard University. He said something to the effect that none of us needs to worry or be concerned about our future if we will just bend ourselves to our daily work with diligence, doing our very best. He went on to say that if we as individuals will follow this course of action, we will wake up one fine day to find that we are among the competent ones of our generation. It seems that human beings become discontented and frustrated to the extent that they try to avoid what they know they really should be doing. And in line with the youngsters, Josephine MacDonald wrote in Columbia, "If you will find the parents who bother to talk with their children, parents who realize that school is the least likely place for children to acquire an interest in life and learning, and that the dinner table, the hike, the fireplace, and deep armchairs are the best, you'll find the children with keenest minds and most eager eyes. You'll find children who have a heritage of the ability to live fully and happily, a heritage that will last their lives through and touch their children's children." It is in the home that children's lives are shaped, through the example and conversation of their parents. And it's here that parents have a problem. A man and a woman fall in love, marry, and suddenly, before they've even had time to learn how to get along with each other, they're parents. They're suddenly responsible for the growth and development of the world's most valuable commodity, a human child, with all its labyrinthine complexities and potential for greatness in the world. It is here that love and guidance, in that order, come into the picture. And to the extent that we as parents can develop these two abilities will determine to a very large degree the success, abilities, and happiness of our children. As Mr. Humphrey said, the potential for greatness is in each of us. It is simply our best. One of my favorite quotations about children was written by Charles Dickens, who wrote, "I love these little people, and it is not a slight thing when they, who are so fresh from God, love us." I believe that one of the most interesting, but certainly most confounding things about people is the way so many of them go through life with their hands held tightly over their eyes and an iron pot jammed down over their brains. According to the experts, the only thing that keeps more people from developing the way they should and from doing the many interesting things they could be doing is a thing called prejudice. I suppose everyone is prejudiced about something. The very word prejudice comes from the words pre and judge, and means to judge beforehand, to pass judgment on prematurely or in advance of due investigation. And the word prejudice is defined as an unfavorable opinion or feeling formed beforehand or without knowledge or thought or reason. For example, crazy as it may sound, I know a man who is immediately suspicious of short women and wouldn't trust one of them as far as he could throw her uphill into a strong wind. He must have had a bad experience with a woman about 5 feet tall, so now he doesn't trust her like any of them. Naturally, this hurts him in getting along with people. There are people who feel they don't have a chance in life because a particular place, such as Wall Street, or a minority group controls all of the money in the country. I'll bet you've heard that one. It must have been started by some pinhead who couldn't stand to admit his own failure, and instead of starting over again, he decided to blame someone else. Before you swallow a prejudice, give it the acid test. Investigate it. That's right, check it out, and you'll see it vanish like a puff of smoke in a hurricane. Don't go through life being held back by a lot of stupid prejudices that have no power or substance or truth to them. And whenever you find yourself about to repeat a prejudice you've heard but have not checked out, don't say it. If you repeat things you do not know to be true, and if they're of a prejudicial nature, you're throwing up barriers you're going to have a tough time climbing over. Have you ever noticed that whenever you say or think something bad about a person or a group, that it has a way of making a full circle and finally kicking you in the seat of the pants? It never fails. Yet we all know people who spend their entire lives kicking themselves in this fashion and having to dig up new prejudices as alibis for the fact that they never amount to a hill of beans. Fortunately for us, the youngsters of today are getting a much better education than we got. And if there's one thing that will put the staggers into prejudice, it's education. A prejudice disappears under the light of knowledge like a drop of water on a hot stove. It's true that a prejudice can cause quite a bit of mischief in the world, but the thing to remember is that the person a prejudice hurts most is the person who holds it. Prejudice can only walk with ignorance. If you get rid of one, you get rid of the other. Many years ago, when I was an actor on a radio network, the director happened to give me a very small part. In fact, it was just one line in a half-hour program. And I complained to him about it, and he said something I'll never forget. He said, "There are no small parts. There are only small actors." And certainly the same thing applies to the business of living. We determine what happens to us. If we're not doing too well, we may be holding ourselves back with a prejudice. The great jurist Oliver Wendell Holmes once wrote, "Men are tattooed with their special beliefs like so many South Sea Islanders, but a real human heart with divine love in it beats with the same glow under all the patterns of all earth's 1,000 tribes." How many times during your life do you suppose you've heard the words, "they say"? How much of your life is shaped and guided by what they say? A great American by the name of Bruce Barton, a businessman, a public servant, wrote a short piece a long time ago titled, "They Say." Let me quote it to you. "How many utterly drab and uninteresting people are there in the world who might have developed real personalities if they had only had courage to do and be something different from the crowd? Every single step forward in history has been taken over the bodies of empty-headed fools who giggled and snickered. If you have anything really valuable to contribute to the world, it will come through the expression of your own personality, that single spark of divinity that sets you off and makes you different from every other living creature." A noted English schoolmaster used to have as his motto, "Never explain, never retract, never apologize, get it done, and let 'em howl." Well, it's a motto not altogether to be commended. He who governs his life according to it will not be an agreeable companion or accomplish the largest service under a government where the will of the majority must finally prevail. But there is a rugged spirit of independence embedded in it that many men would do well to adopt. You can afford to have a decent regard for public opinion, but you can never afford to let yourself get into the pathetic condition where what they say, or may say, will keep you from doing what ought to be done. It's a hopeless condition to be in because what they say today is not what they said yesterday or will say tomorrow. That was written by Bruce Barton a long time ago, but it's even more true today than it's ever been. There has never been a time in our history when so many people have lived their lives in such timid obsequiousness to what they say. Remember Bruce Barton's comment, which went, "Every single forward step in history has been taken over the bodies of empty-headed fools who giggled and snickered," and the one that goes, "If you have anything to contribute to the world, it will come through the expression of your own personality, that single spark of divinity that sets you off and makes you different from every other living creature." You see, there are no two human beings on earth who are exactly alike. Well then, where do we get the phrase, the average man or the average woman? There is no such thing as an average human being. The reason it seems there are so many average human beings is because so many are acting as though they were average. Each one of us, being different, has something different and worthwhile to contribute. As Emerson wrote, "A man should learn to detect and watch that gleam of light which flashes across his mind from within, more than the luster of the firmament of bards and sages. Yet he dismisses without notice his thought, because it is his." Don't ever make that mistake. Your thoughts, your abilities can never be known unless you make them known. So the next time you hear someone say, "Well, they say," ask him who they are. If it would be possible to track them down, we would find them to be men like ourselves. Maybe we are they. It's worth watching out for.